Most men believe they are free. They walk, they speak, they make choices, and they think this is freedom. But look closer. Watch the way they live. Their minds are restless, filled with worry, doubt, envy, and regret. Their nights are sleepless, their mornings heavy, their days consumed by thoughts they cannot silence. They are not masters of themselves. They are slaves to their thoughts. Epictetus once said, "It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things." Do you see the depth of this? Events themselves hold no power. It is the way we think about them that binds us. A harsh word is just sound, but if your mind makes it an insult, it cuts like a sword. A future event is just possibility, but if your mind fills it with fear, it becomes torment. We suffer not from life, but from our own thoughts about life. And here lies the battlefield every Stoic understood, the war within. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet in his private writings he confessed again and again, the hardest battle was not against Parthians or barbarians, but against his own restless mind. He trained himself daily to master his thoughts, because he knew, if the mind falls, the man falls. Think of how thoughts control most men. A single rejection from a woman, and his mind spirals into despair. A missed opportunity, and he convinces himself his life is ruined. A careless comment, and he replays it for weeks. These men do not control their thoughts. Their thoughts drag them like prisoners chained to a wild horse. Wherever the horse runs, they follow. But the Stoic asks a different question. What if I could guide the horse? What if I could rule my thoughts instead of being ruled by them? For the truth is this: the mind is not your enemy. It is a tool. It is fire. It can warm your home or burn it to ashes. And whether it destroys you or strengthens you depends on whether you control it. In this teaching, we will uncover the Stoic way to master your thoughts before they master you. We will see how overthinking poisons the soul, how unchecked emotions rise from uncontrolled thoughts, how the mind can be trained daily like a muscle, and how living above your thoughts can make you unshakable, calm, and truly free. Understand this. If you control your mind, no one can enslave you. Not insults, not rejection, not failure, not even death. But if you do not control your mind, you are enslaved even in freedom. So I ask you, who rules you, yourself or your thoughts? By the end of this journey, you will know the answer. And more than that, you will have the weapons to reclaim your mind and live with the strength the Stoics lived by. Let us begin. Section 1. The battlefield of the mind. Every great warrior knows where the real battle lies. Some fight on fields of blood, some in courts of politics, some in the chaos of business. But the Stoics discovered the greatest battlefield of all, the human mind. It is here, in the silence of our own thoughts, that victory or defeat is decided. The enemy outside is often easy to see. You can name him, face him, resist him. But the enemy within is subtle, invisible, and persistent. He whispers through your doubts. He strikes through your fears. He drags you down through guilt and regret. A man who conquers armies but fails to conquer himself is not a victor. He is already defeated. Marcus Aurelius knew this truth. As emperor of Rome, he commanded legions, ruled over millions, and yet he confessed that his hardest struggle was with his own thoughts. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Notice his words. Power is not found in controlling the world, but in controlling yourself. The Stoics taught that your mind is like a citadel, a fortress. If you guard it well, no enemy can enter. If you leave its gates unguarded, even the smallest thief can steal your peace. Thoughts are like soldiers. If disciplined, they defend you. If left unchecked, they turn into rebels and overthrow you. Think of the battles fought in your own head. How many times have you replayed an argument long after it ended? How many nights have you lost to fears of what might happen tomorrow? How many mornings have you begun with regrets of yesterday? This is the war the Stoics spoke of. Most men fight it unconsciously, losing every day, because they do not even know they are in a battle. But here is the wisdom. You are not your thoughts. Thoughts come and go like clouds across the sky. Some are dark, some are light, some storm, some pass quietly. If you believe every thought, you become its prisoner. But if you see thoughts for what they are, passing impressions, you gain freedom. Epictetus compared the mind to a ship in harbor. The winds of thoughts blow from every direction, but the captain decides where the ship will go. A man without mastery is tossed by every gust of emotion, anger, jealousy, fear, greed. But the man with mastery chooses his course and holds steady, no matter the storm. This is why the Stoics saw philosophy as training for battle. Each day was an opportunity to strengthen the mind. Just as soldiers sharpen their swords and athletes train their bodies, so must the wise man discipline his thoughts. To let the mind wander is to leave your weapon rusted and your shield broken. Consider the man who loses his temper. He believes his anger is caused by another's insult. But in truth, the insult is just sound, mere air. It is his judgment, his thought, that makes it an injury. If he controls that thought, the insult loses all power. If he does not, the insult rules him, and he becomes its slave. The battle is never outside, it is always within. So how do we fight on this battlefield? First, by awareness. The Stoics urged daily self-examination. What thoughts rule me today? Marcus Aurelius would ask himself at night. Awareness is the first step to victory. A soldier who does not know where the attack comes from cannot defend himself. Second, by discipline. Not every thought deserves your attention. Some should be dismissed like beggars at the gate, others tested before being admitted. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." How many of your battles exist only in your head? Discipline means refusing to fight shadows. Finally, by reframing. A Stoic does not simply reject thoughts, he transforms them. Where the weak man sees failure, the Stoic sees training. Where the weak man sees rejection, the Stoic sees freedom from false paths. Where the weak man sees hardship, the Stoic sees strength being forged. The battlefield of the mind is not won by avoidance, but by transformation. The truth is simple. You cannot stop thoughts from arising, but you can stop them from ruling you. You are the commander. Thoughts are your soldiers. Train them, discipline them, direct them. If you do not, they will mutiny, and your own mind will become your tyrant. Remember, every man fights battles, but the greatest of them fight within. Win here, and you win everywhere. Lose here, and no victory outside will save you. Section 2. Overthinking, the silent killer. A man does not need enemies to destroy him. His own thoughts can do it quietly, slowly, and without mercy. This is the danger of overthinking. It is not the sword that strikes suddenly, but the poison that seeps drop by drop into the soul until strength is gone. The Stoics understood this long before the word overthinking existed. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." What does this mean? It means most of the pain in your life does not come from what actually happens. It comes from what you think might happen. You fear tomorrow's storm, though today the sky is clear. You replay yesterday's failure, though it is already gone. You multiply your suffering by living events in your mind again and again. Overthinking is the silent killer because it wastes the one resource you can never recover, time. While you sit in endless thought, life moves on without you. Opportunities vanish, moments slip away, and while you are trapped in the maze of what-ifs and if-onlys, the present moment, the only place you have power, is lost. Picture this. A man stands before a river. He wants to cross, but he imagines every possible danger. He might slip, he might drown, the current might be too strong. So he stands there, day after day, thinking, worrying, doubting. Meanwhile, another man arrives, tests the water, and begins to swim. Who gains the other side? Not the thinker, but the doer. The first man drowns not in water, but in his own mind. Marcus Aurelius gave a remedy. Do not let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole. Do not try to picture everything bad that could happen in the future. Take the present and confine it to the present. Overthinking is an illusion. It tries to make you live tomorrow before it comes. But the Stoic insists, stay here, now. The present is all you truly have. But why do we overthink? Because the mind craves control. It believes that if it can imagine every outcome, it can be safe. But the Stoics taught the opposite. Control is not found in predicting the future, but in preparing for it with strength. You cannot control the storm, but you can control your ship. You cannot control rejection, but you can control your dignity. You cannot control death, but you can control how you live before it arrives. Overthinking also comes from fear of action. It is easier to think endlessly than to risk failure. The man who delays action convinces himself he is being careful, but in truth he is being cowardly. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Notice, not think, but do. Thought without action is paralysis. Thought with action is wisdom. The Stoic cure for overthinking begins with awareness. When you notice your mind circling the same problem endlessly, stop. Ask yourself, is this thought useful? Does it lead to action, or does it only drain me? If it does not serve action, discard it. The Stoics were ruthless about this. Time is too precious to waste on thoughts that weaken you. Next, return to the present. Anchor yourself in what is real now. Seneca advised practicing premeditation malorum, imagining the worst, not to worry endlessly, but to prepare once, then release the fear. Once prepared, the mind should rest, not circle endlessly. Finally, take action. Even a small step breaks the cycle of overthinking. A man who acts discovers reality is rarely as bad as the mind imagined. The Stoics believed courage was not found in endless planning, but in moving forward despite uncertainty. You do not need to see the whole path, just the next step. Overthinking kills confidence, drains joy, and wastes life. It turns men into prisoners of imagined futures and ghosts of the past. But the Stoic walks free because he refuses to be ruled by what he cannot control. He chooses clarity over confusion, action over paralysis, the present over illusions. So ask yourself, how many hours, how many days, how many years of your life have been stolen by thoughts that never came true? And more importantly, how much of your life will you allow to be stolen again? Remember, your mind is a servant, not a master. Overthinking is the servant rebelling, taking the throne. Take it back. Direct your thoughts and act. For only in action, only in presence, only in mastery will you find peace. Section 3. Emotional hijack. When thoughts rule you. A man who cannot master his emotions is like a city without walls, open to any attack, vulnerable to every intruder. He may be strong in body, but in spirit he is fragile, for he is ruled not by reason, but by storms within. This is what the Stoics warned us against. Emotional hijack, the state in which thoughts lose their anchor and emotions seize control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Notice, he does not say you have power over people, over fortune, over fate. He says only this, your mind. Yet how often do we hand this power away? How often do we allow anger, jealousy, envy, fear, or desire to rise up and sit on the throne of our reason? Think of the man who receives an insult. His heart pounds, his face burns, his mind screams, "I must respond. I must strike back." At that moment, he is no longer free. The insulter is his master, and he, though thinking himself strong, is a slave to rage. Or the man who scrolls through endless images of wealth, beauty, and power. His stomach twists, his chest tightens. Why not me? Why don't I have this? Envy has hijacked his reason, convincing him that happiness is stolen from him. He forgets that envy does not punish the envied. It punishes the one who envies. The Stoics saw emotions as natural but dangerous when unchecked. To feel anger, fear, or desire is human, but to let them rule is to abandon wisdom. Epictetus warned, "It is not things that upset us, but our judgments about things." The insult itself has no power. It is your judgment that makes it a wound. The loss itself is neutral. It is your judgment that makes it tragedy. When emotions hijack reason, you are no longer living by choice. You are reacting, like a puppet pulled by strings you do not see. The Stoics demanded that a man cut those strings. How? By pausing, by examining the thought behind the emotion, by asking, "Is this within my control? Is this in line with virtue? Or is this simply passion deceiving me?" Take anger. Seneca wrote an entire essay called On Anger, where he called it a form of temporary madness. He said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Do not speak when your chest burns. Do not act when your hands tremble. Wait, count, breathe. Time is the enemy of uncontrolled passion, for in time, reason returns, and what seemed unbearable now appears small." Take fear. Fear hijacks by painting illusions of what may come. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Do not be anxious about the future, for you will meet it with the same reason that guides you now. Fear says, "You cannot handle this." Reason replies, "I have handled everything until now, and I will handle this too." Take desire. Desire hijacks by promising happiness in possession. But Epictetus warned, freedom is not achieved by satisfying desires, but by eliminating them. The Stoic does not refuse pleasure, but he does not become its slave. To enjoy without needing, to have without being owned, that is freedom. The Stoics were not stone-hearted. They did not demand you feel nothing. They demanded that you feel rightly. Emotions should be servants, not masters. They should obey reason, not overthrow it. Joy should spring from virtue, not vanity. Grief should teach compassion, not despair. Love should inspire courage, not weakness. Ask yourself, how many times in your life have you regretted something said in anger? How many decisions have been poisoned by envy or fear? How many opportunities have you lost because you let desire or laziness whisper louder than discipline? That is the cost of emotional hijack, the loss of clarity, the waste of time, the corruption of character. The Stoic answer is mastery, not suppression, not denial, but control. To master emotions is not to kill them, but to guide them. Like a rider controls a horse, not by breaking its spirit, but by directing its strength. The horse is powerful, uncontrolled, it destroys. Guided, it carries the rider to his destiny. The Stoic asks you to become the rider of your soul. When anger rises, wait. When envy whispers, dismiss it. When fear screams, face it. When desire burns, test it. Is this good for me? Or will it enslave me? For a man ruled by emotions is no man at all. He is a storm, unpredictable and weak. But a man who rules his emotions is unshakable, calm even in chaos, free even in chains. This is true strength, not the power to move others, but the power to govern yourself. So remember, you cannot stop the first spark of emotion, but you can choose whether to fan it into a wildfire or let it fade into smoke. That choice is your freedom. That choice is your mastery. And that choice will decide whether you live as a puppet of passion or as a stoic ruler of your own soul. Section 4. The Battle with Distractions. We live in a world louder than the ancient Stoics could have ever imagined. Not the roar of lions or the clash of armies, but the constant buzzing of notifications, the endless scroll of feeds, the seduction of screens glowing in the dark. Our enemy is not the sword or the storm, it is distraction. Marcus Aurelius warned, "You will find rest from vain fancies if you perform every act in life as though it were your last." Yet how often do we waste hours in triviality, as if time is cheap? How often do we live as if life is infinite, as if our days are not slipping from us like water through open fingers? Distraction is not harmless. It is theft. Every moment stolen by meaningless noise is a moment lost forever. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." The Stoics measured wealth not by gold, but by how you spent your hours. Time is the only currency that never returns. Think of the man who sits to study but instead scrolls through endless posts. Think of the worker who plans to build, but wastes the morning in idle chatter. Think of the dreamer who has visions of greatness, but each day is swallowed by distraction until his life is nothing but empty promises to himself. The Stoics saw this clearly. Distraction is not a small vice. It is the slow poison of the soul. It kills not with one strike, but with 1,000 wasted cuts of time. Why are we so vulnerable? Because distraction is comfortable. It requires nothing of us. To watch, to scroll, to gossip, to drift, it asks no discipline, no courage. But to think deeply, to act with purpose, to walk the hard road of self-mastery, that demands strength. And most men, untrained, surrender to the easy road. Yet the Stoic is not like most men. The Stoic fights. He knows that the mind, like a blade, must be sharpened, not dulled. He knows that attention is power, and to scatter it is to weaken himself. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In our age, that means daring to be offline, daring to miss the gossip, daring to ignore the noise. It means saying no when the world screams yes. It means choosing focus over frenzy, silence over chatter, discipline over distraction. Ask yourself, when you die, will you wish you had watched more meaningless videos? Will you regret that you did not scroll enough? Or will you regret that you wasted years never building the strength within you, never writing the book, never starting the work, never living the life you were capable of? The battle with distraction is the battle for your life. Win it, and you gain clarity. Lose it, and your days dissolve into nothing. How do we win? The Stoics give us weapons. First, purpose. Without purpose, every distraction captures you. But with purpose, you see clearly what serves your goal and what does not. Second, discipline. Schedule your time. Guard it as a miser guards his treasure. Treat each hour as sacred, not to be given away lightly. Third, awareness. Notice when distraction tempts you. Do not drift unconsciously. Pause and ask, will this matter to me in a year? In a week? Or is this simply stealing my present? Finally, simplicity. The Stoics lived simply, free from excess. They knew that the more you own, the more owns you. The more noise you let in, the harder it is to hear your own soul. Simplify your environment, and you simplify your mind. Remember, distraction is not an external enemy. It is an internal weakness. The world will always scream. The question is whether you listen. The Stoic does not close his ears. He trains his focus. He does not hide from noise. He masters his mind. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by armies, still wrote in his journal every night. He was an emperor, drowning in responsibility, yet he made time for thought, for discipline, for purpose. If he could resist distraction while carrying the weight of Rome, then what excuse do we have? So let this be your battle cry. I will not waste my life. I will not trade eternity for entertainment. I will not let distraction steal the only treasure I truly possess, time. For once time is gone, it cannot be reclaimed. And the man who wastes his time has wasted himself. Section 5. The illusion of control. Man believes he commands his world. He builds systems, routines, and ambitions, thinking that control is power. Yet the Stoics saw what most men never do, that control is often an illusion, a dream dressed in certainty. Epictetus taught, some things are in our control, and others are not. Those simple words are the foundation of freedom. But mankind, stubborn and proud, spends a lifetime wrestling with what he cannot change and ignoring what he can. We worry about the opinions of others. We obsess over outcomes. We try to command fate as if it were our servant. But the truth is humbling. We do not control the winds, only the sails. A Stoic understands that chaos is the natural order. The universe owes us nothing, and yet we behave as if it must bend to our will. When things fall apart, we ask, why me? When the real question is, why not me? The illusion of control is the root of frustration. A man expects the world to follow his plan, and when it doesn't, he suffers twice. Once from the event itself, and again from his refusal to accept it. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the most powerful empire in his time, wrote in his meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about that. The most powerful man in the world knew his true power was not his armies, not his throne, but his inner calm, his mastery over himself. To control others, outcomes, or the future is an illusion. But to control one's thoughts, actions, and reactions, that is true dominion. Ask yourself, how much of your pain comes from trying to force life to move your way? How much peace have you lost trying to control the uncontrollable? Other people, their choices, the past, the timing of success. The Stoic path is the art of surrender, but not of weakness, of wise surrender. It is not giving up. It is giving up the illusion that you were ever the master of the universe. It is choosing to master yourself instead. Seneca wrote, "Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. Those who resist life are dragged through it, clawing at the ground. But those who flow with it move with grace. They may still face storms, but they do not fight the wind. They use it to steer forward." Control is not in the events, but in our response to them. You cannot control whether you are loved, but you can control whether you love. You cannot control whether you succeed, but you can control how hard you try. You cannot control how long you live, but you can control how deeply you live while you are here. The illusion of control is seductive. It makes you believe that if you plan enough, worry enough, or hustle enough, everything will align. But life is not a script. It is a river. You can build your boat, but you cannot command the current. So what is the Stoic response? Prepare, but let go. Work, but release the outcome. Act, but detach from result. When something goes wrong, remember, it is not the world that betrays you. It is your expectations that betrayed you. The wise man lives like an archer. He draws his bow, he aims with discipline, he releases with calm, but once the arrow leaves his hand, he accepts whatever happens. The wind may change, the target may move, but his virtue remains steady. The Stoic's peace is not found in controlling the world. It is found in controlling his reaction to the world. And this is the secret of serenity. When you release the need to control everything, you gain control of the only thing that ever mattered, yourself. So let the world turn. Let the storms come. Let people misunderstand you, betray you, or walk away. None of it defines you, because the man who no longer needs control has mastered the art of freedom. Section 6. The power of solitude. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. The modern man runs from solitude as if it were a punishment, yet in solitude, the greatest men of history found their power. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations alone. Epictetus shaped his wisdom in exile. Even Seneca, surrounded by luxury, withdrew into his own mind for strength. Solitude is not loneliness, it is alignment. It is the sacred space where you meet yourself without the noise of the world. It is where you realize that peace does not come from others understanding you, but from you understanding yourself. In solitude, you learn to think, to feel, to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. The weak run from solitude because it exposes them. The strong embrace it because it refines them. Every man must, at some point, walk the silent path, because in that quiet, you stop chasing and start becoming. You don't need to escape the world. You just need to return to yourself. That is where strength begins. That is where clarity lives. That is where the Stoic becomes unshakable. If these words reached you, then remember this. The path of the Stoic is not loud, but it echoes forever. Take what you've learned here and live it daily. And if you're ready to rise above chaos, above fear, above the illusions of control, join us at True Stoic. Subscribe, reflect, and return to this space whenever your soul needs grounding. Because here, we don't just think, we evolve.